And I'm very delighted to have you join us. I know you're a busy man, and I just want to formally introduce you because you're the head of genomic medicine and healthy aging unit at SHA. You're an award-winning doctor in the field of healthy aging too. So I'm very, very honored to have you join us and spread your wisdom, because I know you're a very wise man, and you're also a very entertaining man, as people will find out as we continue. So Dr. Mera, we're talking about, I'm going to kind of jump straight in. We're talking about the subject of detox today, and why and if we should go through a detoxification process. There is still a lot of views out there by some part of the medical community that our body has a natural detoxification process. It's designed to naturally detox. So why should we make an effort to do a formal detox program, or actually do a detoxification ourselves? Why should we do it if our body naturally does that?
Okay, the reason for that is very simple. The detox capacity, is true that we have a very good detox capacity. We can detoxify substances through the skin when we sweat, to the kidney when we pass water, to the stool, and coming from the liver. So there are many ways to detoxify, and we have a good system. The problem is that, unfortunately, we every day trespass the limit between the balance of, toxins and detoxification. Our natural detox, obviously, the result of if you put a garment in a washing machine, this white coat, beautiful white coat, you can have it white, but it depends on many factors. Depends if I keep it clean or if I use a good washing machine, obviously. If I have a good washing machine, there are big differences of washing machine. There are beautiful German machines. This Miele, what is extraordinary. You don't have to do anything. You just put the garment and you have a wonderful, bright white color. But what about if you have a different one? It's not that. So this is what I try to say. Here I test to practically all my patients that want the detox capacity, this natural detox capacity. We have now the capacity to identify certain genes, genomic variations, to see what type of liver detoxification do you have, what type of lung detoxification you have, what type, your capacity, we can identify. And it's amazing, it's completely different. I have done, myself, for instance, I have tested as a part of a protocol all my genes, and I have found that I have good genes in certain part of my body, but other ones, they are not good. So I have to take care, and I do detox of these particular areas. And on the other hand, we don't have, so as an average, we have a good system, but everyone is different. It's something like we say, we all can run, I don't know, a marathon, but not everyone is ready for a marathon. We have to train and so on. So as an average, we can run a marathon. Any person, normal, healthy person, young person can do that, but not everyone in the real ground is not possible to do that. We have to train. So those who say that why we have detox is something that those who say that we can run a marathon without training, ridiculous. We have to train. On the other hand, the number of toxins is increasing every day. There are two types of toxins. One is the group of toxins that we know that we are introducing into the body, namely tobacco, alcohol, drugs, legal or illegal, all type of toxins that we know that we introduce into the body. Those who do that they have to detox extra, because if I don't smoke, why should I detox my lung? But if I do smoke, obviously I have to do this. Big difference between a garment which is completely clean and another one that is dirty. So it's very important. The other point is that we can try to introduce, there are many things that we ignore, that we are introducing into our body, particularly the food and the air. Pollution, unless you are an expert, you don't know. There are many websites where you can find the pollution, the contaminants in the atmosphere of your town. Here I have one in where we are in SHA, and you will be surprised that we have very wonderful weather, you know, and atmosphere. But if I am in Shanghai, if I'm in New York, if I'm in London, absolutely different, even though we are the same people. Number two, the food. The food is full of mercury, as lead, and many other additives, acidulants, colorants, many things that we completely ignore. And sometimes the industry, they put in the label of the food something very, we call cryptical. So you never understand exactly what is that. They say, for instance, this beautiful product is whitening with E171. In Europe, we use this code in Europe, E171. So you go to the supermarket, you look at the E171, and you say, wow, it shouldn't be too bad, because it sounds regular. And you know what is A171, for instance? Is titanium. And it's a nanoparticle that can produce cancer. And then quite recently was, when we identified that, was retired from the, you know, many products, particularly cheese. The funny thing is that the cheese, and particularly mozzarella, many people, we don't like at all in SHA this type of products, but some people love it, particularly Italian. And Italian food is also, you know, everybody likes mozzarella. But will you eat a mozzarella which is not clearly white? No, people love white mozzarella. So they add titanium, which is labeled A171. And you don't realize that. But it's also in toothpaste. It's also in chewing gums. It's in many other things you have that. And you don't know that. So you need detox because of that. Unless you are a detective and you can identify easily and avoid all these substances that I mentioned, and your genomic capacity for detox, liver, lung, skin, kidney is perfect, then you don't need it. But otherwise, you'd better have every now and then this program.
Okay, thank you. So it's very much environmental toxins from the food that we eat, from the products we put on our skin, everything really is around us. I think maybe the body was designed to naturally detoxify when we lived out in, you know, nature with nothing around us. Maybe then we just ate the food from the land that we could then detoxify naturally then, but we've obviously evolved a lot since then.
Of course, the body was designed for that. There is only one problem I have found, you know, I'm really concerned about that design. I would like to complain, but I don't find the owner, you know, the design. I try to complain one design, only one, to the patient. And I say them, I would like to complain, where can I complain? And they never answer. You know, they say, they look at the sky and say, complain upstairs, you know, but you know what it is? The lung. The design was really bad. The person, because that designer of our body never thought, trust me, never, that we were going to smoke. He said, no, the design is made for non-smokers, you know. Why? Because I never found holes in the lung, you know, so it's impossible. You can put the smokers, when they smoke, they think that, but it is only an impression, that the smoke easily goes in and out, but they don't realize that the smoke is only the vehicle. There is another thing that is called tar, and the tar remains in the lung, but you don't have hole. My suggestion for the designer is to produce a couple of holes here, you know, and every night before you go to bed, you tap your lungs, and you clean your lungs. But unfortunately, we don't have that. Okay, so we have to detox. or not to smoke. Obviously,
Probably, I mean, there's not that many people who smoke anymore, is there? I find
no. 40% of the population, more women than men. No, people continue smoking. Yes,
wow,
it's true.
Crazy in this day.
And remember the second-hand smoking, okay? Because this is another thing. Now, in Spain, in Europe, what we have is you are not allowed to smoke indoor, but outdoor is possible, okay? Because obviously, my freedom, I would like to smoke, please leave me alone. And then they produce terraces. But you know what they do? Now in wintertime, they put plastic and they surround the terrace with horrible plastic, so you can see the road, you know, the way that we have to do that in terraces and so on, but people smoke inside and you can smoke that.
Wow. So how often should we, well, I have two questions for you. So if we lead what we think is a fairly healthy lifestyle, we don't smoke, we eat organic food, we like go out of our way to buy organic food, we try our best, you know, with our practices, we use natural products, we try and keep away with anything with E. Do we still need to detox, you think?
Yes, because remember that you say organic food as if the organic food were really organic. You know, this is a big mistake. I tell you, every day, some years ago, we tried to every day to introduce a long list of organic products in the supermarket shelves. And you say, this is new one. But now, you know, what we are doing is exactly the opposite, taking from the organic side. For instance, honey. Honey used to be an organic product, but not anymore at all. Have you read the last study about the honey in the UK, for instance? They found, you know, pesticides in 85% of all the samples of even the small producers, they have that. So honey is full of pesticides. So don't think that because the labels say that it's organic or it's bio, sometimes this bio or organic is only the excuse to charge you more, but that's all. So we have to be really experts and try to know everyone, every day, everything is better. Obviously, if you produce your own, but apple, for instance, apple is the most contaminated fruit. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Don't
eat organic apples.
Yeah, or the only organic apples that you can say that they are really organic is the apples that I produce in my house, you know, because no pesticides, no organic. Normally, it's very hard to sell these products because the organic apples, we love plastic-like apples. We don't like organic food. So normally when we go to even go to a shop where it's organic or supermarket where it's organic, we don't take the organic food. We live, you know, with only the aesthetic and the appearance. And we think that the clean means that the aesthetically perfect. For instance, maize, corn, the color. Do you know that the maize, the original maize, was, because this is another point, the transgenic food. The maize, the corn that's beautifully yellow, that people buy, that is not the real one. If you go to internet, you can find the real one. The real one is horrible. It's different colors. It's black, blue, brown, but not yellow. But obviously, they select genetically the yellow one, the same with the apples, and this produces another problem that we have to be careful. But we don't have to be obsessed with this, obviously. But my recommendation is don't be reasonably, you know, concerned about that, and then have your detox every year.
Every year you should do
every year. This is my recommendation. Every year in a normal person, you know. But if you have extra toxins for any reason or extra risk, maybe you have to do that twice.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to come back later to what that means, like the detox. But I want to ask you, because you're an expert in the aging process. What happens to us if we don't detox in terms of our aging process, and what's like the science behind that?
Yes, well, there is a lot of information about that. It depends again on your genomic information. Okay, we do that here now. In the past were really expensive, now are still expensive but cheaper, and I recommend to everyone, because it's an investment that you have to do once in your life, is to detect. There are many laboratories everywhere, not only here, of course, that we can say exactly what is your genome concerning detox, particularly liver, okay? And depending on that, it's very important to know how bad or good your detox capacity is. Don't they? Those who say that we have perfect capacity, that we are designed for detox, they haven't seen this genomic area. They live in the detox 1.1. We are in detox 2.1. Is to know exactly what is your capacity, and according to that, use your detox. So my advice is that you check it. We check to everyone and see the lung, the kidney, the liver, and if everything is all right, I think that we can plan a normal detox, or even it's not necessary. Obviously, if you are not in contact with toxins and your detox capacity is good or excellent, I don't think that is even necessary. But we have to personalize. The medicine nowadays, even preventive medicine, is extremely personalized. We cannot generalize.
Yeah, well, we've seen over the last few years that one size fits all does not work at all, where they try and public health try and push out one size fits all.
I tell you one example.
Yeah.
I have a friend who is an expert in breast cancer. He was an expert. He has been working with breast cancer for 40 years. Very close friend of mine. And he was a pioneer. He was a really, really interesting person, because some years ago, 20, 30 years ago, we used to operate completely. When you have a cancer, even if it was small, the solution was, because we thought that the best way to eliminate cancer was locally. So we have an amputation of your breast, and even if it is a small thing, but he said, he kept all these breasts. He is the best collector of breasts in the world. He has a big collection. It's amazing. He all have in the hospital has a big room with all these breasts. And he said, and I say, why do you keep that? Why? And he said, look, today, it was 20 years ago when we had that conversation. He said, today, I don't know what is happening with the breast cancer, but in 20 years ago, we will be able to do that. It's exactly the same like doping. Have you seen that doping when it was some years ago, there was erythropoietin we was using for cyclists to improve their capacity, blah, blah, blah. And they use natural erythropoietin, and it was impossible to detect, impossible.
That's right.
But they kept the blood to say, we will detect it, and 10 or 15 years later, they detected the erythropoietin. And now we have detected a lot of people who was cheating, and there was wonderful athletes, and there was cheating with erythropoietin. Why? Because they knew that was not possible to be detected with the technology that we have 10 years ago. But now we have technology and we can detect it. Well, this gentleman with the breast say, in the future, we will find it. He was also expert in detoxification, and he found nothing 10 years ago, 20 years ago, nothing with the breast. But he has a big collection to see, well, a lot of tests. And you know what he found 3 years ago? Phthalates. Have you ever heard about phthalates? No. Phthalates is a very odd name, which you have to pronounce with P-H-T-A-L-E. It's very difficult. Yeah. You can find it in internet. And this substance is coming from plastics.
Wow.
And the plastic transform when in certain condition of temperature, certain condition of humidity, all the plastic containers that we use in many things in the supermarket, everything is made of plastic. And the plastic in certain condition of temperature, humidity, pressure, etc., they transform this substance in phthalates. This substance, forget the name, is a substance that we were not able to detect, but now we detect. And when this substance goes to the breast. They produce an activation, is what we call endocrine disruptor. Yeah. So they produce problems with the receptor of estrogen, progesterone. Is an interaction with this receptor, and those women who had genetic predisposition to breast cancer and they are in contact with phthalates, they develop cancer. We know now. Isn't it amazing? We didn't know 10 years ago.
That is amazing.
And now, after this research, the phthalates were completely forbidden in Spain and in Europe. You cannot, but you know, you cannot provide every substance. So that you have to only, there are certain types of phthalates that they are forbidden. But you know, the industry is changing. So if you say the phthalate 1,3-dihydroxyphthalate is not allowed, then you know what they do? They produce the 1,5-phthalate, and it's not forbidden. So we can continue with this problem in Europe. But the plastic is, I'm absolutely sure that the plastic is one of the things, one of the most important things that is producing, apart from many other problems with the, you know, the oceans and so on. A few people realize that the plastic is a big problem for breast cancer. Please read that in internet. The thing is that we don't have time to read all these sort of things, you know. So you do your detox, you take your phthalates. Now we are doing some new research here in SHA, and we are going to develop soon a new detox program with a special, it's a sort of dialysis, we call apheresis. And then we try to take all these substances, including phthalates. And then in order to, well, we don't know too much about that. So the only thing that we would like to do is reduce the concentration of phthalates at least. And we are trying to do this soon. Probably next year, we will start with the clinic, you know, approach to this problem. But we are now in the research phase. Okay?
So you're doing the research. So this, I mean, are the heavy metals as well, of course? Do they have
well, heavy metals, everybody knows that chelation is necessary. Think about mercury, you know, lead. In the old times, it was because of the amalgams, you know, the mouth and so on. And we know, and sometimes many dentists start to remove that because the patient goes to the dentist and say, well, I hate that, please remove it. For aesthetic reasons, cosmetic reasons, and also for detox reasons. But you know, my experience is even worse. Don't remove it unless, yes,
you activate it, right?
In the program, exactly, in the process of detox, in the removing that amalgam, if you don't do that with a special technique, then it could be even worse, of course. It's something like you have a radioactive substance you have in a sealed box, and you open that to throw it away. It's a big mistake. Don't open the box. It's radioactivity. The same happened with metals, okay?
So coming back to the aging process, obviously, as we age, we're more susceptible to disease and cancers, these kind of things. The detoxing process, I mean, from your view as a healthy aging doctor, the detoxing process is paramount to that?
Yes. For me, there are 7 paramount things that you have to be careful if you want to live longer with quality of life. One is the food, obviously. The number 2 is exercise. The number 3 is stress management. Number 4, sleep. Number 5, hormonal, particularly if you are in the age between the 45 to 55. The 6 is your digestion and absorption. And finally, number 7 is detox. So obviously, this is a paramount importance. Without that, you cannot be, I mean, you can live long, you can have good quality of life, but I remember that here in SHA, what we promote is not that you pass the exam. We want you to be the top of the class. So you have to do everything, you know. Because when I say that to my patient, they say, doctor, you look like my father, patronizing, trying to be, and I say, well, it's true. I have had children, and I always say, I want you to be the top of the class. And you know what they say, Dad, sorry, I want to leave. I don't want to be the top of the class. And I say, well, if you don't want to be the top of the class, you don't pass the exam. I'm sure that if you want to be the top of the class, you pass the exam. And this is what I want with my patient as well.
Yeah. So you want to make sure everyone's in tip-top shape.
Absolutely.
But that's what SHA's about, being the best that you can be for you. I mean, that's the thing. So tell me, this is what I don't understand. I've been trying to work this out. Why do some doctors and media outlets still go on about, oh, your body detoxifies, is this just one big con? Because a lot of people, you hear newspapers every January, there's going to be someone.
Yes. No, the reason for that is
the con, and this isn't necessary.
The reason is that we only do and recommend what we know what to do. Okay. What does it mean? That these type of doctors are very good, but I insist, they left in the detox 1.1. Okay, we are now in the 2.1. This is an old-fashioned people that they don't know exactly what it is, the detox. Okay, because the detox is really far more difficult than they believe. We are not designed, our design is not perfect, absolutely no, particularly because I insist, the designer didn't thought that we were going to do many things. They didn't think that I have a patient with a big level of lithium. I tested. We tested in the stool.
Where did they get the lithium from?
Well, where do you think? You are in your boat in the middle of in Capri or in Ibiza here, and then suddenly you finish with some device, something that you need, and you have lithium batteries. And you know what you do? You call someone, give me the battery, and then you take your battery and you throw it to the ocean. And then there is a fish, they will take that because it looks like a small fish. The fish immediately take it, and then you go and you eat the fish, and what happened? You eat the lithium,
Yeah.
Lithium. We have seen lithium in a high concentration now, mercury, and these sort of things, because we are not well designed. We don't understand that we cannot do these things. We have to recycle the batteries, but how? I don't know, but in the rest of the country, but I know very well in Spain, and we are, very good and very concerned about this. And the recycle of these batteries of lithium is not more than 30%. What happened to the rest? We don't know. Where are they? They are in the middle of the ocean or in the middle of a mountain. If you are biking and you finish with your, the Walkman or whatever, and you just throw it away. It happens.
Sure. So, I guess what you're saying is that the people who say you don't need it are the people who are not specialists. Indeed, this isn't something they teach you at medical school. It isn't. It's just like old school, and they haven't increased their knowledge on this. So you're a specialist in this.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other point is the genomic. Because
it's genomic too. Yes,
the genomic is very difficult, even for me that I have, all my life trying to, the clinical approach to the genomics is really difficult for a doctor. Really. I have seen, just before I came here, I was checking a patient and he has 250 different genes, and I was checking one by one, and I have 1 hour to that. Try to imagine that. It's really hard. So I say to any other doctor who believes that this is not important, he has no time to see that. He has time to read that. So it's completely different. Okay, we have to change that.
So I wanted to cover that because there's still people saying that, and I wanted an answer to it actually. So is there anyone who shouldn't detox? Is anyone who has specific medical conditions or that you would recommend doesn't do
You go
that?
to a different point. I can accept that. I don't accept that we are well designed and that we have enough detox capacity. I say not in general, and particularly because we have many toxins that we ignore that we are in contact with. But I accept the second point. It's true. Sometimes detox could be even worse. We talk about amalgams, for instance. The same happens in certain circumstances when your immune system is bad. For instance, we always recommend, as a general rule, that broccoli is a wonderful, healthy food. You have heard that. Many people say. Maybe the doctor that say that we don't need detox, they say, take broccoli and this is enough. But you will be surprised that some patients, when they eat too much broccoli, they could have even worse conditions, okay? Because you activate certain gene that is bad for that. So the broccoli activate a gene that you should be off. So you switch on something that should be switched off. And this is happens sometimes. But the best way to avoid that is to know your capacity. I kindly invite you to have this genomic test, okay? Now, I say it's expensive, but it's no more expensive than a couple of dinners that you can have in a month, okay? And then you can pay for that and you can see really and discuss with a doctor who really understands that, what is your capacity? And in that point, you can see. The same happens with vitamins. Smokers, for instance, they have some problems with certain vitamins. So to give you extra vitamins could be even worse. It's true. There is a lot of research about that in lung cancer. They thought, well, if you are a smoker or non-smoker, vitamins and no vitamins, sometimes you have the opposite effect. This is true. But we doctors normally know this and try to select before you have a detox. We have here in SHA, for instance, we have a doctor, a couple of doctors, a team that they ask certain questions that we know, because first of all, what we want to do is no harm. Okay, this is the most important, to no harm. And then the second one is to see if we can help you. But it's a very interesting point what you say. Sometimes it's true that could be
personalization, of course, yeah. So we have to look at that. So should people detox specifically after a lot of medication or cancer, you know, radiotherapy?
We have many examples like
all of those things.
Cancer because of the cancer itself and because of the medication, because the medication for cancer is really harmful, you know, and radiotherapy, chemotherapy, immunotherapy, there are many problems with that, of course. The medication of any type, particularly statins, for tablets for cholesterol, tablets for blood pressure, tablets for many other things, hormonal treatment sometimes, you know, and yes, of course, we have to do that. But what I try to...
People are not told this. You see, people don't know this because they're not told that by their oncologists or anyone else. So
it's true.
We're just trying to spread the word.
Because I have discussed with some colleagues, oncologists and so on, and they say, what are you saying? You know, I want this gentleman to survive. Don't tell me this. Okay, so this is, sometimes they are not interested in the side effects. They have to say, but what we have to know is that it's perfectly possible to do the two things at the same time, detox and use that. Okay, so this is perfectly possible.
So it's very important for those. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the main pillars of detoxification, and we have the pathways around those. So we have like the main organs that you talked about earlier. We have the skin, the colon, the liver. How do we approach those? I mean, skin, how do we open up?
Skin is one of the most important, okay, because there are, I think that I will put the importance according to the size, because the detox capacity depends mostly. If you have a washing machine, if it is a big washing machine, obviously you will take more water and more, you know, solutions and more. And what is it? You know what is the biggest organ in our body? You remember that? Yes. Yes. Where is the biggest organ?
It's the skin, right?
No, it's not the skin. Sorry. This is sorry for the trivial person, you know, but I'm giving you privileged information. Next time you will win, you know, maybe.
I will remember now, yeah. Come on.
It's not the skin. The skin for you, it will be about 1.7 square meters. This is your skin. If you take your skin and you put it on the table, you will get 1.7 for your height. I gather that you are about 170, 168 probably meters, and then you will have, your surface will be 1.7, okay? My surface is a little bit more because I'm taller, but it's only 1.7. But you know, what about, guess, another one. What about the liver? Have you seen a liver?
No, how big is the
It's
liver?
funny because we talk that we don't need detox and we have never seen a liver, you know? So you say, how can you see talking about washing machine without seeing a washing machine? You have to go to the shop and see a washing machine and check it. The liver is quite big organ. It's quite big. It's not bigger than the skin, of course. I look at your face and you say, wow, I'm
like,
seeing a
what
bigger
is your
liver.
liver?
No, look, take, if I can do something, I will take from your stomach to your anus, I will take the gut and I will, it's roll, you know, completely. It's about 7 yards, you know, but if I separate completely, I will occupy completely a football field, 100 square meters.
The intestines.
Yes, the intestine is really, really big. We don't realize that. You know why? Because it's raw. And then you think that it's only 7 yards. No, it's 7, but it's many, 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 many times. And inside, when you look at the microscope, it's more and more and more. So try to imagine that if you have a substance and you have to detoxify, it's something, the intestine is something like the ears of an elephant. Have you seen how they take care the temperature only with this? You are doing exactly the same. So we have to be careful mainly with the, firstly, with the gut, the intestine, the digestion, the absorption. So this is the most important point that we have to take care of. And we have in the intestine, we have someone who can help us with that. There is in the microbiome, we call good flora and bad flora. Some of them, they do our job. Remember that the vitamins that we need for detox are produced by this flora. We don't produce them. The flora produces the vitamin B12, the vitamin B6, B1, C, D, all the vitamins. We don't, actually, what we call vitamin is a substance that we take from outside our body and our microbiome produces and activates. Sometimes it's the liver, sometimes it's there. So the gut, we have to be extremely careful with the gut detox. We have to clean it and do the detox of the intestine with many. The thing is that, how can we reach this? We can reach it by 2 ways. Remember the anatomy. We can go through the mouth, and you can go to the gut, and you can go through the anus, and you can go in the opposite way, and the liver. The liver, remember that the gallbladder is where we store the bile is in the liver goes to the gallbladder, and the gallbladder, the drain into the duodenum, which is the very beginning of the intestine. So we always can detox when we take care of our liver. The liver actually can eliminate substances through the gut. And the funny thing is that all these substances that you produce in your liver and you eliminate, you can reabsorb again. And we send it with is what we call the enterohepatic cycle. And many substances we eliminate the dirty part, and then we reabsorb the most important thing. It occurs with many drugs, with many substances, and this is very important. The liver is probably the most complicated and more difficult system, but the most active is this. The skin. The skin is the third one, okay? The third one, the skin, we have to sweat. I always recommend to do exercise. That's the reason why exercise is so good for aging process. Because, for 2 reasons. Because you move your heart, but you also sweat. And when we sweat, we eliminate a lot of toxins. Sweating is always interesting if you drink enough water as well, okay? But if you exercise and you drink beer or a glass of wine immediately after, well, this is a bad, change. So it's better not to do that. But the skin, we have to be careful.
Coming back to the gut, the best way to detoxify the gut,
yes,
is
through probiotics, prebiotics, and postbiotics. We have to give a good, the prebiotics could be with the food. with the food, we can find prebiotics. With the normally the probiotics we need to supply with the supplementation. Okay, so you have to take it, but naturally you can give a lot of the prebiotics. Remember that is the food where you that you use your flora needs. So if you have a good healthy food, then you can have a very good detox. The best example is the best superfood that I always recommend to all my patients. And for you is my recommendation. Miso soup. Do you like miso soup?
No,
Miso soup is amazing. This is the reason. Remember that Japanese people live longer than the rest of the planet. They are the winners. They are the top of the class. Every time that someone comes to my office and they say, doctor, I need 2 things. And I say, tell me why? And they say 2 things. I want you to remove some years and some kilos of my body, you know, as I say, years and kilos. And you know, this is what everyone is happy and is looking for, kilos and years. And I always say, go to Japan and they will find the way to do that. Why? Because in Japan, with this miso soup, they found exactly that. They lose weight and they gain longevity. And you know the reason? The reason is mostly because this miso soup is full of probiotics that you can take it naturally without any intervention. And this is my recommendation as a first step for detox. The intestine detox is with eat miso soup, but it's not the only one. There are many other natural things that you can take full of probiotics.
Okay.
So this is my recommendation.
Can I ask you a question? There were a couple of questions that came up earlier. One was about nightshades, nightshade food. Should we keep away from that as part of a detox? There's kind of varying degrees of advice about that.
Yes, it's true. No, I don't like too much that. Okay, so I think that this is very important. But anyway, I don't like to say that something is bad or good, because remember what is my principle. My principle is that what it could be good for you maybe is bad for another one. Okay, so always personalization. My advice is try to go to or read. You don't need to go to a doctor, but better you go to a doctor and try to find out if what is good for you, what is bad. In the same way that you cannot go to the gym and start to do exercise and do this without any personal trainer who is looking at you. If you are putting one hand this, the other one this way, personal trainer will say, well, do that this way, symmetrically, and so on. So this is what I recommend always. Go to an expert, real expert, because sometimes there are many people who talk a lot and they know very well everything, but they have no experience, they haven't seen a patient, and they have not, you know, sometimes it's hard to find but you don't need to be a doctor, you can be just an expert of this, okay? But this is my recommendation. Someone who really knows, and then recommend what to do and what not to, okay?
Okay, so I'm aware of the time because we're at 7 o'clock your time, so
yes.
you need to go soon.
Yeah, but I'm really, if there is any question in particular, question, want to answer anyone.
If there are, I mean, my big takeaway from this talk is that you must look at your own personal situation with your detoxification capacity. That can be done through testing, that could be done through testing locally somewhere, or coming somewhere like SHA, of course, where you specialize in that. And that the one size doesn't fit all. I mean, in the UK, we're very used to the one size fits all because we have this NHS system. So, you know, to give free healthcare to everyone on entry. But then what happens from that is that it's not personalized, you know, it becomes very broad. So we don't really know about this.
But it's really difficult. Yes, it's really difficult in the NHS to do this. It's really
of course we would
have many patients and they say, well, my doctor smiled when I asked for that. You say, well, you have to pay for that. We don't do. First of all, I say, what is that? Genomic? No, what is that? The problem is that if you go to your doctor with this test, you better know what type of doctor you give this result, you know, because if you are not expert, it's really hard for that doctor.
If there were a couple of questions, I'm sorry, I did lose connection halfway through this, just about 10 minutes ago. So the chat has gone for me. I can't see the questions. If you do have any questions, please put them back in chat, and Dr. Mera can try and answer them quickly. Okay, right. Oh, miso soup is now organic, Rosie, organic, right? Dr. Mera.
Sorry, I couldn't hear the last.
Okay, sorry. There's somebody put on the chat that miso soup is on her shopping list.
Yes.
But I said it has to be organic, right?
Yes, of course, of course.
Okay. And if anyone else has any other questions, I think we've covered a lot. I have one question. What is your view on water, tap water versus, I mean, because water is the big thing. We have to drink a lot. I'm always worried about drinking tap water in London, but then you go buy water in plastic bottles.
Again, the same like we were talking about the design. In general, we say, because we live in the first world, that the water is okay, you can drink water. Here in Spain, for instance, in Madrid, we have a wonderful water because the water comes from the spring, from the mountains, and we have wonderful water in Madrid, but not in Barcelona. In Barcelona, it's horrible because they don't have that. So don't say that we have tap water. We cannot drink tap water in general, depending on the town. There are some towns that they have wonderful water, but some others, they don't have iodine. Some others, they have a lot of metal. They have toxins. They have even biological. Sometimes they add chlorine. They add a lot of chlorine. This is really bad. And I have seen many problems with aluminum, for instance. I have one patient, I remember one day, one patient came here with dementia symptoms, you know, and was with the husband, said, well, something is happening to my wife. She's not, you know, the memory, she's doing funny things. I don't know, she is 60. I don't think that is the Alzheimer's. What happened? Well, we tested many things, and I realized that they drink water from a well. You know, they have an old well, and they drink it, and they say, well, in summertime, they have his house, and the well was wonderful and fresh water. And they say, well, and I say, why do you do that? And they say, well, we have done that for years. Nobody said that it was bad. And then, you know, I found aluminum, big concentration of aluminum. Never drink water from a well. So this is particularly some of them, depending on the mountain. But if you take it, the water that you have aluminum, and you can have dementia, for instance. And look, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer, and it was a different thing. It was aluminum, you know. And we have
aluminum poisoning. That's interesting. Yes. Also, I do know that I know personally that London water is amongst the worst. Yes. So I'm very aware of that. And but then, you know, so you have to be aware of that. Somebody asked a question about benefits of soaking in salt baths, which I would imagine is quite a good idea, like Himalayan salts or Epsom salts and stuff.
Yes,
like
well, this is that this is beneficial sometimes. There are for liver and gut and flora, you can clean it. We do that here actually as a general rule, just to clean there is two things. One is that you can understand is the same like your house. You can clean your house or you can detox your house. It's completely different. Yes. Clean is just take all, you know, the dirty material, the rubbish, you can remove it. But detox means to keep it perfectly clean, to, you know, this is different. So I think that this is a good idea now and then, never in excess, always in moderation. The detox should be done unless you have a personalization and you have a doctor who's explained that, who knows your genomic information and so on, never too strict, never too strong, okay? Because you can have problems. But this is, I don't think that is a bad idea now and then, okay? So you can do that. It's very good. It's essential to go to the toilet every day. Those who cannot go to the toilet every day, they have a big problem. Because remember that all these substances remain in your colon. And if you don't get rid of this, we are not made of plastic. So we are porous. And all these substances, mostly toxins from the bacteria, you absorb it. And then you say, oh, this eczema that I have, toxins. Oh, this, mood, I feel depressed, I have no memory, I have fatigue. What is that? It's the toxins. Don't blame on stress. Don't blame on, you don't sleep. No, it's that toxin. But it's very hard. You need to go to a doctor trained on this to see and identify those symptoms, because sometimes they finish in, psychiatry. Sometimes they are saying, because this is really sad. So it's very important to pay attention.
Yeah, the toxins have, they're not as widely recognized as causing the issues, the medical issues.
This is something, sorry for the interruption, but it is something that we have learned with the COVID time, the COVID time. We have seen that mostly the symptoms in the chronic, long COVID are mostly because of toxins, and when we clean from toxins, all this feeling of fatigue, brain fog, this sort of things is mostly toxins, okay? And anti-toxins, obviously, when you have toxins, your body is designed to control and neutralize this type of toxins. And this fight between toxins and anti-toxin, they produce the illness, of course.
And you did a lot of work on that, didn't you? You had a lot of people come with long COVID, so you studied
Yes. We have a specific program for long COVID. Now, you know what is the problem? That everyone is, let's say, fed up with COVID. We mentioned the word COVID and they immediately we say, oh, no, don't tell me about that. So unfortunately, the research and everything is finished with that.
Yeah, we've been traumatized by COVID.
Yeah, because we want to change. We want to pass the page, it's a moment that everyone wants. So normally we keep that, but we don't give that importance like you used to do 1 year ago, okay?
Yeah. And just one final question here about, I'm coming back to the water. Somebody said, what happens if you boil the water? Does that get rid of the toxins?
Yes, from the water, we have always preferred, there are many types. The Japanese people, they have some water with hydrogen. There are sometimes, the pH of the water is very important. I always recommend, for instance, as a general rule, unless you cannot do that, to put a little bit of lemon always in the water, okay? This is one and very easy way to do that. You put just a little bit of lemon, not a lemonade, it's just 2-3 drops of lemon, or you can put part of the lemon, a slide of the lemon inside. Why? Because the lemon changes the pH. The pH is essential for detoxification. And when you put it with the lemon, you put it alkaline, a little bit alkaline, never orange, because orange is very similar, but it produces the opposite effect. Orange make it acid, and the lemon alkaline. And this is some tips that you can do easily. This is my recommendation is tap water, unless you live in a town where you know certainly that you can drink the tap water. In Switzerland, you have wonderful places. In Madrid, you have wonderful. In the UK, I'm not sure exactly where you can find good tap water. Not in London, absolutely. I have tasted that water, never tried. So bottled water, not in plastic, by the way, because remember the phthalates. You remember the phthalates? So never take plastic, always glass. Another thing that I recommend for those who can afford it is to produce the inverse osmosis. This is a process where you really produce your own water at home. The only problem with this is that it's very expensive. But you can have it now. In the past, it was very expensive, but now it's affordable.
You can get them. You can put them on countertops. You can get small on reverse osmosis.
Yes.
And so they are available. Anyone who's interested in that, let me know separately, because I know lots about reverse, because I've been investigating it.
Yes, and you can have there are 2 complaints with the reverse osmosis. One is the cost, because it's really expensive. It was expensive, not now. And the second one is that you waste a lot of water as well, because in the production of the new water, you have to waste a lot of water. But there is a solution. I have that in my house. And you know what I do with this water? It's wonderful for my plants, for my garden. You take the water and you water your garden. So you can do that, never waste. So, and they produce with certain system, and they can put this water that you waste into another pipeline to go directly to your garden, and you can use it for the garden. And this is wonderful, okay? So you never waste the water. But this is expensive. I know it's expensive.
Yeah. But it's, again, it's a good investment, I think.
Yes.
Okay, I think to wrap it up, detoxing, you can do various little things. I think the message we got from you here, the message certainly I got, is that there's a lot of aspects to detoxification. Yes. And I would highly recommend, if any, if you can and you have the funds to invest in it, to go to SHA and do any program, because SHA is based on a detoxification program. Any program you do is around detoxification. Yeah. It underpins it, right? And they are the experts in that. So I would definitely look at that. Or if you can't do that, look at what you can do at home on various levels. And there's so much information you have given us in this.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Any question, additional question, you can send to my email, and I will very pleased, more than happy to answer. Okay. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you for coming and for your time and for rushing from patient to us. So I hope you have a nice evening now.
You too. Thank you very much. Okay. Bye. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you for coming along, spending time.
Okay. Thank you.
I will post the recording on the forum. If we can just mute Dr. Mera. If we can just mute Dr. Mera quickly. For everyone for coming along, for the recording. The recording I'll post on the forum, and we'll also put it on YouTube. Yes, have a wonderful week ahead. We'll be in touch about next week's event. And in the meantime, stay healthy, stay happy, and have a think about the water you're drinking. That's just a passing a closing statement, I think, amongst other things. So thank you all. Have a great one. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.